and Development at the University of Limpopo and serves as the chairperson of the Limpopo Research Forum. His professional interests focus on fostering regional, national, and international research collaborations, as well as enhancing the development of emerging researchers and postgraduate skills. Additionally, Dr. Mabila is an active member of the Southern African Research and Innovation Management Association and the International Network of Research Management Societies, where he contributes to advocacy research, where he contributes to advancing research and innovation practices. Dr. Mabila, you can take your instrument and give us your rendition in this orchestra. Thank you.
Chibomkwebo. Colleagues, good morning. I usually talk a lot, so try to stick to the script that I have here, but also to avoid missing other people that I should mention. I don't want to start looking around. This light is directly into my eyes. I can't see the other people that side. The program director, thank you for the opportunity. Observe the protocol of this session and this conference, and start by acknowledging the presence in our midst, our statistician general, who we all know, Tatana Research Maluleke, sitting here with some of our colleagues. I would also like to acknowledge the leadership presence of our Chief Director in Policy Research and Development, as well as the GIS, Mayor Doris Matebula. Thank you very much, ma'am, for being in this region. The Office of the Premier Directorate for Research and Development, led by Ms. Joyce Muko, colleagues that work with her. I've seen Dr. is here, Dr. Madikana is here. Welcome and greetings. Our SAPAM partner, the president of SAPAM, Limpopo, Professor Mujeji. I have been told colleague and president of SAPAM National is also in the presence, Professor KB Shai, also my brother, colleagues from SAPAM. Your work is visible. Thank you very much for what you're doing for the province also. I would also like to welcome and recognize the deputy chairperson of this forum, Professor Zimkoza. Pronounced your name. Thank you very much. Without you, I don't think this ship would be afloat. In most cases, when we are not around, whether we're able to steer the ship. I always say to my colleagues, if it wasn't for your leadership, I think in most of the we wouldn't cross. The director for research, I think, currently is still busy in an executive meeting with the investor vendor. Professor Jablat Makumela, also my former colleague, is not in the room, but he's here. The colleagues from Univen, the delegation from Univen. Thank you very much, colleagues, for also being in this occasion. Our colleagues from UNISA, I believe, led by Gomgada, and all the colleagues from UNISA. I also have been reliably informed that we have in our midst MMC for corporate affairs, corporate governance from Bombela, city of Bombela, uh, Ms. Pumzile Lukwena. Welcome, and you are acknowledged, ma'am. My duty is just to welcome everyone, and particularly our guests, and appreciate the fact that they've made day a, a day which we will realize our aspirations as set in our goals for 2024 2025 of our annual conference. This being the second one, last one we had been held in the same time at the Ranch Resort, and as we start the day, we actually are moving ahead and actually elevating the status of our conference, and to acknowledge everyone that is here and the ones that are still coming, going to join us, for taking time to participate in the conference under the under the theme that we have set for this year, and the four sub themes that we have put together. The theme being innovating for inclusive growth, bridging science, technology, system development, and the sub theme is laid out in the program. I do not want to read each and every one of them and repeat things that we have already said. Before I sit down, I'd like to also acknowledge, thank the coach tirelessly, sure that they put together a program like this one. In the committee, there's quite a lot of them, made up of colleagues from the Office of the Premier, TUT, UNISA, University of Venda, University of Limpopo, uh, the colleagues from my office, the University of Limpopo, the Office of Marketing, at UNISA, TUT, Univen, and UL. Thank you very much for putting together a venue such as this one with all the colorful branding that shows that indeed, as a university, we have taken to the motto, uh, working together, we can do more, but also we have been able to collect to put a program of such academic stature within a short space of time, but also in a seamless way, very cooperatively, and with all the etiquette that it deserves, to cluster all the different sessions as well as breakaway sessions. I would like to encourage the people that will participate in this program to make sure that you deliver the talk and the papers that head to an audience that is enthusiastic, that is willing to listen, and to assure you that yours was accepted. It has very good linkage to the discussion we would like to see prosper during this. It sets the tone for all our activities. It gives direction, the developmental trajectories that we aspire to see in our province, but also to the platforms for academic and researcher development in our institutions. So, particularly also, I would like to by all members of the scientific committee as listed on page 2 or 3 of the program, without reading all their names. We really appreciate the long nights going through the abstract, giving feedback to all the presenters, and finally giving them space and acceptance to present their papers. I don't want to give a keynote address. I know that the program director has space for our keynote address today. Thank you very much, Director.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Dr. Mabila. I call you Dr. Mabila, but some call you Dr. Mabila. Um, they both work, um, and I hope you do take both. Dr. Mabila, Dr. Mabila. I like the work. It completes the symphony. Thank you so much. The next item, I think this time around, the committee used some empirical evidence to make a decision. With me, they just looked at those qualities. But for this one, they said, well, I do not qualify to call the next speaker because I do not have to do so. They chose someone, an aunt, and they said, this one needs. So aunt will come introduce our keynote speaker. She qualifies to do this job. Mayor Joyce Mugobi is the Director of Research and Development at the Office of the Premier, and she qualifies with. So if we had to give her qualifying to do, I think she will have a PhD for it. Over to you.
Thanks, Program Director. Uh, SG, I've been given a title of Hahani or Makazi. Thanks for the title. Program Director, Statistician General, distinguished guests, researchers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Thank you. As we seek to build a future where economic growth benefits all, data and evidence-based decision making are, we all know that are essential. Accurate and insightful statistics empower government, academia, businesses, and researchers to shape policies that are both inclusive and sustainable. Today, we are honored, ladies and gentlemen, to hear from a leader who has dedicated his career to ensuring that South Africa's development is driven by robust, credible data. It is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed keynote speaker, Mr. Resenga Maluleke, who brings with him a wealth of experience in statistical research, policy development, and governance. He has played a pivotal role in transforming how data informs national decision making. His work ensures that innovation and economic growth are underpinned by accurate data, inclusive and forward data analysis. Has also been instrumental in managing statistics, South Africa's Stats SA's participation in international meetings such as the UN Statistical Committee and international statistical development. Beyond lead statistical research, he is passionate about making data accessible to all sectors of society, ensuring that statistics are not just numbers, but a powerful tool for change and development. With this, ladies and gentlemen, please join me as we welcome South African Statistician General Mr. Risinga Maluleke to the podium.
As we do so, um, this is being live streamed. So those that are responsible for audio, visuals, and streaming the event are saying showing a lot of gaps, like, and they are humbly requesting we move a little bit forward. The picture saying they look so good, like the room is empty, the cameras. As statistician general, um, can we just do? You're not my boss today. I think you know that. And in fact, because of the powers vested in me, uh, but I don't want to use them. Um, is it possible a little bit, just for as we go through this next item, just made that humble. Um, I don't have powers to move people. So I think I'll let this one pass. But if you are able to assist in this regard, just for the quality of the pictures and for those that are viewing this online. Thanks so much.
Let me thank you, Program Director and Tambeleni Mukwebo, a brother and a friend that I have known quite so many years. Uh, the only thing is, time has always treated him a lot more kinder than it has treated. Uh, Let me also take note, Chairperson Professor Professor Mabila, in whatever context they wish to put the dialect of pronouncing your surname. Prof. Dr. Mabila, if you allow me to stand on the protocols that you have established in acknowledging all the people that hold different stations, not only for the research forum, but for our country. Let me also thank uh, Madam Joyce Mukobi for introducing me in the way she has done. But because I'm meeting in front of doctors and professors here, and Professor Dr. Mabila from the University of Limpopo, I still take pride in the fact that I'm a product of the University of Limpopo. In 1988, to my first year, and there was Rule A19 and Rule A17.1 that said if you fail also, you get excluded from the university. So during my first year, I failed all subjects and passed only mathematics, which it's mathematics that saved my life. I'm saying this because at the time when we see people sitting in high offices, including the little office that I am responsible for in South Africa, we think that they have scars on their back. Try, and we see young people trying and failing. Let's encourage them to take up those pieces, carry them on their head, and move on, because we don't know what they will be one day. Standing here today in Middleburg about numbers, and I've been told that an MMC from one of our municipalities here in Pumalanga is here. And I guess the year today present is 2025. In 1822, almost 200 years back, in a place called Mkhuze in northern KwaZulu-Natal, at the height of the formation of, or the establishment of the kingdom of the Zulu, a young man left that kingdom after a fallout with King Shaka. His name was Mzilikazi Kamashobana Khumalo. So Mzilikazi leaves on the note that he had been asked to go and attack King Chief Ranis, who was an Inkos or a Khoshi or a Tobela, on the slopes of the Drangersberg Mountains, and he had gotten the cattle and he didn't go and submit them to King Shaka, which was an act of defiance. And he ran to the forests, went over Ukahlamba, the Drangersberg Mountains, went northwards into Mozambique, and found place in Middleburg. And he was welcomed by King Sibindi of Nala section, Ndebele, as well as King Magodongo of the Nzunza section. And he rested and he called this place Ekuphumuleni. I'm saying this and I will continue on Zilika. He left here, he went to establish, well, he was abandoned by his friend Ngaba, as well as Seko, who went to join Zwangendaba group, who trekked north to establish, amongst other, Angoni settlement in Tanzania, Malawi, and Zambia. And he went west into present-day Pretoria, went as far as the Uruti and the Fal, crossed the Limpopo, went as far as the Zambia, and settled in Zimbabwe, in Bulawayo, Ntaba Zinduna. He had no cell phone, he had no car, he had no aeroplane. He walked all the way, except at times riding on horseback. So, what is our stake today as we gather here when we have vehicles and we have had the benefits of the graces of sitting in business classes and first classes of aeroplanes in the world? Not to mention the German sedans and off-roaders that I've seen in the parking lot, and the phones that we hold in the form of our iPhones, Samsungs, Huawei, and others, that at the press of a button connect us to the world. Who are we And who do we seek to influence in the name of sustainable development? Ensure that those who have waited for democracy for too long find a way of testing it one day. With all the gadgets that we have, if we look at 200 years ago, possibly King Ziliga might have brought his cattle to graze in this area. And he would control sometimes an area from Pretoria all the way to the roots, all the way to the Great Mariko, without a phone, without a vehicle. And we have all the apparatus. We have all the degrees we can lie, including those of us who have failed first years. Who are we? Who is a child who is sitting in the classroom today in one village in northern KwaZulu-Natal, be it in Masisi in Limpopo, be it in Yamoussoukro in Cote d'Ivoire, be it in Kaduna in Nigeria, be it in Nouakchott, Mauritania, an African child who from the fruits of our toil. Who is that child who is not born yet, who is not conceived yet, who will know that we gathered today in the place of Emuleni, where King Gaz once rested on his trudge amongst others who were kings and established kingdoms to build nations. We pride out. Limpopo Research Forum only talks to the boundaries, but I have always known that knowledge is not a monopoly of rank, nor is a monopoly of boundaries. We don't need the permission. The President of the Republic of South Africa is responsible for the space that we all live in, who is responsible for counting everyone who is here in South Africa. But we don't need the permission of the President to talk or send a message across the border to Zimbabwe, to Malawi, to the US. So it means that we stand here today being global citizens. The question is, do we want our research forum to be domesticated by the boundaries that define us, or we want to make a difference, not only in Africa, but in. So the story of Limpopo, in the name of numbers, begins. They say that in the village, in the African sun, where we all benefit from coming, there's always a story. And the story starts with numbers, be they produced by line departments or being produced by, let's just say, in the form of official statistics, and the impact in policy analysis. So I'll give an analogy so that we can understand what input, output, outcome, and impact indicators are. Let us look at the Department of Housing. The number of houses that they build, they use bags of cement, they have people who work every day who go to houses. They pay them salaries. The budgets they spend and the bags of cement are input in. The number of houses they complete per day, that is a rate, it's process indicators. And then the number of houses that they finally build. So when we include per day, it's process. But when they have produced the number of houses, we say there are 3,000 houses. They can show them they are standing there. That's where we start with the work of official statistics. The outcomes are the number of people who access such housing. So in the census, we as statistics usually say how many people are in formal housing, how many people are in informal housing. These are people who access such people, the outcomes. This is where we focus most of our work as statistics, form of censuses and surveys. The impact, and if you go across the Limpopo, they sometimes say the impact. As the responsibility of the rich fora like yourselves. Because we as let's say we can't talk in space. There's a rule in South Africa. It says when you drive, you must keep left and pass right. So I know how to stay in my lane as statistician general. I stay in the lane of not dabbling into the policy space. I don't comment about it. I just make numbers available. Because my Sangoma Lingana, when they drop bones and tell me what makes you the statistician general, they tell me Tambeleni is trying to unseat you. But they won't mention him by name. They will just say someone who is holding your responsibility in the northern parts of the country. So that's my responsibility. My responsibility is to give numbers to the nation and give them so independently and defend the methods. Defending the methods doesn't mean that we should not be challenged. We must be challenged, and we must be challenged by yourselves as researchers. I'm told that this is not the first gathering you meet. I'm told that you have papers you're going to present. I'm also told that Ntambeleni, when State SA produced the census results of 2022, there was a story. Firstly, this was the census in the whole world, which had the highest undercount in the whole world. And everyone is wondering, I mean, this man should not be talking here. He should be fired. You have the highest undercount and you are still at your job. So when you do a census, you know you want to count everyone, unlike a sample survey. But because you want to count everyone, and when busy counting, you find other people at home, some find them. But you want to that are ready to be counted. 1.2 million households refuse to be counted. You don't have time. The law says in the title of the statistician general, there's a general. So you can arrest those who are refusing to be counted. But when you're busy arresting people and you are busy spending time in 1.2 million households refusing to be counted, missing time in counting those who are waiting to be counted. Some refused because there was COVID. We could not go into their households. You remember, it was the biggest plunge, a biggest risk we could ever take. And leadership is about taking risks. To conduct a census in the middle of COVID-19. Wait, some said, give us the money, we'll go and fight COVID. We said the census. There was unrest in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. There was in Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal and the Northwest. And when we came back, we said our undercount is 1%. I listened to the media one day, and one day the media said, State SA has finally admitted that the two professors at the Center of Actuarial Research were right, that they have an undercount of 31%. And I said in the media, it's not like we are the ones who released the 31%. So it's not the two professors, it's ourselves. We run a post enumeration and we compare record and say these are the number of people we have missed. On the day we release the results, the census results, 10th October 2023, the undercount as well, highest being in the Western Cape, the lowest being in the Free State. But people didn't remember. And then two professors, when they went on, they said, you know, there are problems. We need a recount. Political parties carried the message and said, yeah, now we want a recount. The professor said, no, we didn't say a recount. Political parties said, now let me tell you, the census 2022 is solid. It has the highest undercount in the world, but we reached out to 42 million persons in the 17 households that we went to. And with the undercount, we adjusted it using the post-enumeration survey to 62 million as of the 2nd of February 2022. So it is solid. Yes, we agree that we must be taken to task. But when we know what we are doing, taking us to task means that you give us a chance to explain ourselves. But I have a disappointment for this research forum and other fora in the world. The fact that two professors from the University of Cape Town, who I respect so well, and I must admit, I respect them very well. I know them, I've worked with them. They made this assertion, and nobody else took up the issue, including in this research forum, to say, let's unpack the data and hear what it says. And because South Africa, you have population group as white, colored, Indian, Asian, and Black African. And the fact that I say anything, I have the responsibility to say anything to the country. The fact that the two professors came from UCT doesn't mean that they would dwarf the University of Limpopo or University of Venda or TUT or Nelson Mandela Bay. But because they come from another population group and they are white, and the black researchers were quiet, it means that we have abdicated the responsibility of knowledge and research to one population section to our country. And it's a travesty. And then now, in the milieu of things, last few weeks, when the President of the United States giving citizenship to some sections of our society and not talking about those who have suffered for so many years, we say no, staying in the corner. They are there to put the message in the public. What is the role of the research forum? What is it that we'll put in the public? You must know one thing. You invited me to come and talk to you. Didn't want me to come and tell you lies or half truths. So I only tell truths and only truth. So I like this gathering. But if this gathering will be good for taking muffins at tea time, and we can't fit in the milieu of things and issues that we need to discuss and debate in our own nation, we must know that it's lost opportunity. So I've already said I don't get into the policy space. I only talk numbers. The policy, the what? Poverty, unemployment, inequality is for the space of policymakers. Let's just say how to measure methods, stats, and of course, we deal with situation, which I'll talk to later. How many people are in South Africa now? Mid 2024, 1st July, we released the mid-year population estimates, and we said South Africa is sitting at 63 million. Don't worry about the 0 point what. uh, Professor Dr. Mabila is not going to ask questions. When he asks you in 2022, we're 62 million, now we are 60 million. Don't worry about the comma, what. For those of us who fail all courses in first year and repeat. Where are our people? 25% of those are in Gauteng, 15.9 million, followed by KwaZulu Natal, 9.5, 19.5%, 12.3 million, followed by Western Cape, sitting at 12%, Eastern Cape, Limpopo at 6.4%, 10.2%, all the way to the Northern Cape, 0.4 million, sitting at 2%. KwaZulu Natal populous province. And they asked me, they called me and said, Malulek, you are robbed. And we have polygamy here in KwaZulu Natal. How comes Gauteng is overtaking us? Look at the next slide. Fertility. Fertility is the number of live births born of a woman in her lifetime. We don't talk about men because men are not a reliable indicator of fertility. If you don't believe me, wait until you attend their funerals and you learn how many children they have had in their lifetime. Women, whether the children come from different fathers, stay with their children throughout their life. So fertility is highest in Limpopo. So the dotted line that you see, the dotted line that you see, it's a national average. Those that are below the national average of 2.41 are Mpumalanga, Free State, Western Cape, and Gauteng. Anyone who sits below one as fertility, any country, any province, they have reached what we call replacement. So if wife have two children, we haven't done anything to contribute to the population because we have simply replaced ourselves. Two people gave birth to two people, replaced themselves. So in KwaZulu Natal, they asked me, we don't use men, we use every woman as an entity. So the fertility for KwaZulu Natal is 2.58 per woman, live births. Limpopo and the Eastern Cape have the highest. Premier Lisufi asks me, but why, SG, do I have the lowest fertility at 1.89? Why? And I say, Premier, do you want the truth? And he says, yes. And I say, Premier, you lead province of very lazy people. They don't have. Now, let us look at the population structure of Limpopo versus that one of Gauteng. Look, at the bottom on the left, you see a lot of children. And in the middle, around ages 24, you see an inner bulge and you see an increase later. And the inner bulge on the right hand side as well in Gauteng. Those are the effects of HIV that was the lower fertility that were there during HIV. That is number one. But number two is people in Limpopo are living and they live too. I will come to that. But let's start by saying that Limpopo has the highest number of children. Look on the left. I will sometimes guide you by telling you which side to look in terms of the color. And I'll sometimes tell you, like my teacher who taught me arithmetic, when school inspector came and they wanted to know whether he's teaching and he's training his students, his learners. He used to say, if you know the answer, raise your right hand when I ask you. If you don't know the answer, raise the left hand. And he would overwhelm those with right hands, and us were thinking, he's teaching a lot. So you can see at the top on the left-hand side there, Limpopo has the highest number of children, followed by the Eastern Cape. Whereas the young people and adults look at Eastern Cape and Limpopo, they don't even reach the national average, the dotted line. The highest are in Gauteng because that's where they work, followed by the Western Cape and a bit of Mpumalanga and the Northwest. And the elderly on the right-hand side, you can see the red dot are in the Eastern Cape. So Limpopo and the Eastern Cape create higher dependencies because they have the young and the old. Program director, I'm sweating. It's hot here. Telling the truth is tough. I request your permission to take off my jacket. I'm sorry if there are people that I will disappoint by only taking the jacket off. I know since I'm a son from Limpopo, you would have wanted me to take more to see if we can increase the facility, but I'm afraid this is how far I will take it. Now, let us look at Limpopo, for example, in terms of education. We are saying that those with no schooling coming from the left-hand side continue to be dropping. In 1996, they were at 36.4%, sitting at 14.2%. So we are seeing that 3 out of 10 persons aged 20 years and above now have grade 12, as we can see. The second bars, how do I point? Here, 31%. So we have dropped a lot in no schooling. We continue to drop in grade 12, we are increasing. But higher than grade 12, we don't see much movement. The movement is slow. Look at the steep for those who have grade 12. From here to here, it's high. But here we are not moving. So, what is the role of the research forum? In increasing the space for learning. In other countries, when universities must be established, they listen to those who research in the policy space. Because if we don't encourage for more places of higher learning to be established, private institutions of higher learning will come. And those with money will push prices for education. And those that are in the public space, we know how much we are highly subsidized by the state. So now, I want us, in terms of the share of the economy, we know that Limpopo shares about 10% of the share of population nationally. But look, economy 7.7. So it means that the population is much more higher than the share of the economy. If we were to unpack the per capita GDP, the Eastern Cape and Limpopo have the lowest per capita GDP. And this brings us to something else, which I will not bring in the form of slides, but I'll bring in the form of my talk. So let us look at income. We have just released the results of the income and expenditure survey. We are saying in 2006, the salaries, income, not salaries, income includes salaries from work, from imputed rent of our own or paid up houses, from where we rent, as well as pensions and stockfels and the like. We're sitting at 75,000. Ntambeleni, if I miss the numbers, you will remind me because I'm calling them by head. And by 23, the average income was sitting at 204,000 rand, about 204,367 possibly. So we have increased, but that's the national average. The highest is in the Western, 340,000, followed by Gauteng at 250,000, all the way to Limpopo. Limpopo has the low income at 128,000. So it means Limpopo is sitting at about a third of what the Western Cape is earning as income, household income. Now, Limpopo is followed by the Eastern Cape in the earnings. Now, when you have Limpopo and the Eastern Cape having the highest fertility, and they have the highest, the lowest, and they rely on grants because the salaries are 52%, 51, 52% of what comes from work in our country, according to the General Household nationally. But for Limpopo and the Eastern Cape, it's below 50% coming from salary. So we rely more on grants, remittances, pensions, and the likes. And in this regard, as we rely more on those, when we have the highest fertility and we have these children at the bottom, what will happen? We are going to miss the demographic dividend. A demographic dividend is when growth leads driven by two things. While it's growing with lower fertility and low mortality, leads to higher economic outcomes. Now, in our case, our fertility is high in Limpopo. Our economic muscle is not much. We have the lowest household income, and our economy share is 7.2%. So, if our fertility is high, it means our population growth is still driven by fertility, and it's not low. And since our economic muscle is not strong, it means that we will out on the demographic dividend. It means that the savings that we are going to make will not make a difference on the per capita income. Look, per capita income. Look at the Eastern Cape and Limpopo, right at the bottom. Eastern Cape having the lowest per capita income by 2022, followed Limpopo. And these are the two provinces that have the highest fertility. So what will happen? Children that are being born, how will they know, Dr. Mabila, that we existed and in the place of Emulen where King Zilikazi once settled without a cell phone? How will they know? Look at Limpopo. Look at the people living on the left hand side. Gauteng. On the left hand side, look at the living Limpopo. Going to Gauteng is the biggest. So young people aged 15 years, 16, 17, they leave Limpopo to go to Gauteng to search for opportunity. We say we have enough universities in Limpopo, saying no. Leaving. What is it that will tell policymakers to make sure that They stay in our province to learn in our province. And for them to learn, it means that we must attract the best academics. What is it that will academic leave the University of Cape, leave the University of Stellenbosch to come establish themselves in Limpopo? What is- If you don't believe me that people leave Limpopo to go to Gauteng, look at the person who's talking to you now. Of evidence. Look at those who come to Limpopo on the right hand side. They come from Gauteng and outside South Africa. But the, look at the bigger, the chunk on the left of those who are going out, and look at those who are coming back to Limpopo. Only a bulk. So the point is that they are not coming back. They leave at ages 15 years. They arrive in Gauteng, they finish schooling, they get jobs, and then when they get jobs, they get married there. So what is it that this forum will do to assist the government, to assist industry captains, to make sure that they choose Limpopo as the investment destination? Otherwise, the people that we see on the right hand side, who we say are coming back to Limpopo, are the elderly who are retiring at their work as migrant laborers in Gauteng, and they are coming back home to overload the health system and to die. It's the same like in the Eastern Cape. They leave to the Western Cape and go back to the Eastern Cape as elderly people. Program director, you had said I must speak from a certain time, 10:40 to 11:20. Is that right? And you said that I must not exceed my time. It's not yet 11, so I think I've already exhausted my talk. Should I stop? I still have more to talk. Should I stop? Should I stop? You see, program director, by popular vote, I've been returned back to the presentation, not to office. Okay, let us look at grants and income. We're going to talk about that. I've already spoken about this slide. So, okay. I've already spoken about this slide. Look at the income of Western Cape and Gauteng. They are the highest. Look at the 128 that I was talking about Limpopo. So I will not repeat this one. But the grants, let us not think they are not helping our people. The grants are actually saving a lot of people coming out of hunger. They have actually, we can see during COVID, COVID time, the spikes at personal level and at household level, at individual level and at household level. Look at the salaries for Limpopo. Those are salaries. Look at the grants for Limpopo and the Eastern Cape. They are the biggest. Look at the Western Cape. Grants are small in Gauteng. Look at the remittances, the money that we send. So now, all of us here send money to our parents, whether we are in Gauteng, Western Cape, Mandela Bay. Send money to our parents. So when the money arrives in Toyando, Kiani, Malamlele, Lebuwa home, our mothers and fathers and uncles take it. It arrives today, tells them on their phone. My mother tells me she knows how to read it, that it has a WhatsApp or messages, but when it arrives, she knows. She will call and say it has arrived. The following morning, she wakes up, she goes to Pick and Pay, she buys the supplies she needs. The day at the money banks it in Johannesburg. So money arrives in the village from Gauteng. to secure services and goes back to Gauteng, it hasn't circulated. What is it as a research forum that would raise that money must circulate in the law? Because if a currency doesn't circulate at least 7 times in a neighborhood, it will make any impact. It comes from Gauteng and goes to Gauteng. That's why Gauteng has the largest share of the economy. Let us look at labor. We are saying that out of the 62, 63 million people now, 41.4 million people are in the working age, 64 years. Those that are in the labor force, either employed or unemployed, are 25 million. 16.9 million on the left hand side in the blue color. The red color are those that are unemployed, 8 million actively looking for employment. When the statisticians, 32.1% of the people in South Africa are unemployed. 8 million, that is employment day in and day out. We don't include yet the discouraged work seekers, 3.4 million a day. Now, when we come and take the 8 million, the 8 million that are that are unemployed in red, plus 3.4 million who are discouraged work seekers in the darker gray color, plus another 800,000 who are here, who didn't look for employment, but not because they were discouraged, but if employment came, they would have taken it. We come expanded unemployment rate of 41.6%. That is 12.2 million people. That is the serious issue of our country. 12.2 million are not employed. Of people who qualify for work. You will ask me, but this man he includes people his age is 15 to 64 years. They are supposed to be at school. When we come and ask them, are you students? And they say, yes, we put them here economically active. I get asked, why of 15 years? I don't make the law. You go to the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, Section 43 says it is illegal to hire a child younger than 15. It's not me, it's our parliament. If parliament changes the law, I'll change the counting. Sometimes I get called in parliament and they ask me, why do you include children of 15 years? I say, change the law. But it worries me when those who make the law is saying, what is the forum? To make sure that those who make the laws live by the laws and understand what the laws are saying. What is the role? The role is not only to publish, that will include numbers. Our role is to look at the social aspects, the religious aspects, everything about life. Let's say, when you are born, you are there. Because we have to tell South Africans how many children are born. Live births, recorded live births. 1 million. In Limpopo, the highest Auke and Maluleke. Those are the most highest popular surnames. Gambelin will confirm that. And it's not because we put Maluleke, because I'm statistician general. It's because fertility is high in Limpopo. Now, after that, when you start school, we are there. We have to tell Africans how many are at school. When you finish and you go to work, we are there. When you don't find work, we have to tell South Africans who is unemployed. When you work, we have to tell South Africans where you work, in which sector of the economy, whether it's in finance, agriculture, mining, we have to tell them. We even have to tell South Africans which sector is not performing. We ask every question. So when you go at night and you think your partner doesn't know, and you go and do things we know. Because in the demographic and health survey, we have to tell South Africans who liaison with the person outside their regular partner so that we can measure health bias. And we are very happy that people respond honestly. That is why we don't break confidentiality. That is why when we collect data, we seal it. The challenges of the research, what are the ethics of research? When you collect data and you ask people, and they give you sensitive information about their lives, about their incomes, about everything, about what they do when the sun has set, they must not hear it on the other side of the river. When they hear it, they won't give you the data. When they know it's not about what your field workers will keep private, it's also about your ICT systems. How solid are you? Canada, a dating website was once broken some years ago. Names of the people, the credit card details, and all the identifiers. People went home to start confessing. Some even confessed before they even sinned. The question is, it means you must have systems that are not easily broken. So now let's come back to out of the 16.9 million, we only hire 1. Out of the 8 million, only 10% of those that nationally are unemployed are found in Limpopo. We have 500,000 discouraged work seekers. So our unemployment rate is sitting at 32.6%. As we can see, look at the rate for Limpopo. There it is. But there's a catch. Let us not look at the lighter color and be happy. The gray color says our expanded unemployment rate jumps to 46.3% because we are far away places where people must jobs. Our people in Limpopo are far away from places of work. What it says is that the spatial arrangements of our partners are still intact in South Africa. What is it that the research forum will do to break down and change our country so that people, when they look at Limpopo, find a better place to settle in? When people look at the Nelson Mandela Bay, say we have home to settle. When people look at Northwest, they have a place to settle. The president announced that he would want to see a train rolling from Musina all the way to Pretoria, Gauteng, Joburg. We have the Makado Musina economic special economic zone. What is our role? What is our role? Is our role to be silent and look at it? Is our role to be silent and look at trains come across? What is our role? What is our role in empowering entrepreneurs that emerge not only from Limpopo, from South Africa? Is our role going to create a consumerist society that buys iPhones, Samsung from other countries, laptops from other countries? When will we have manufacturing happening in Limpopo? What is the role of the research forum? Any color, this color that pink, color red. Look at the Eastern Cape. The color red or dark red is flying around the color pink. It means the employment in the Eastern Cape has always been higher than. Look at Limpopo. It started well here. Limpopo here. It was inside the national average. It was lower than the national average. But now it's catching up with the national average. And one day it might be like the Eastern Cape. Western Cape, in the pink color. So Look at the University of Cape Town. Look at the University of Stellenbosch. They have researchers. They have their research gatherings. They meet the professors there. They meet with the government of the Western Cape. They assist them. What is the role of the university in our province, Limpopo, in Mpumalanga, in the Northwest, in the Eastern Cape, in the Northern Cape? Are we going to sit in the margins of society and always question? Are we going to only write papers that question what has happened rather than recommend what should happen? They want me to finish. They say I must stop. Now, agriculture. I'm told agriculture hires only 1.1 million out of the between 890 to 1.1 million to have agriculture. But let me mention that when we look, the biggest industry is finance. It's not banks. Banks in finance account for 40%. It's banks, insurance companies, banks and insurance companies, it's 40%. The others come from real estate, housing. The others come from consultancies. How many of us will emerge here and beyond here, together with the students that we are leading, as powerful researchers, Dr. Mabila, in the nation, in the world? And not only researchers that publish papers, but who publish papers and make money out of that and be consultants in the world. Personal services account for 16%. Education and health. Most of us here go to the private sector health facilities and education. Are you coming to stop me, madam? Thank you. Should I stop? Should I stop? Okay, okay, let me finish. Let me finish. She was coming to remind me that I must finish. So, look, let us look at agriculture, for example. This is how it's skewed in our country. Agriculture is biggest in Western Cape and KwaZulu Natal. Look at provinces like Limpopo. Yet we have large tracts of land in Mpumalanga, Limpopo, Northwest, everywhere. What is it that we do to make a difference? In Limpopo, agriculture production drives only 3.3% of economic activity. As being in the Northern Cape, followed by the Free State. Let us look at employment. It accounts for 10% in Limpopo. See that it's hiring more people. So it means we and some imputers to drive it. If we don't do, it has more people it's hiring. It's low entry. Low entry. You don't need a lot of skills to just go and get oranges out of a tree. You don't need a lot of skills. Let's look at COVID. I want to come here. Before I come here, look at of agriculture in employment in Limpopo and the Western Cape. The KwaZulu Natal economy. In Limpopo, post-COVID, has recovered from COVID. Look at where we are in terms of industries that are higher than COVID, equal or higher. It's agriculture, transport, finance, personal services, and general government. And these are the ones that we must also continue advancing. While we have recovered from COVID, but while we are recovering from COVID, our share hasn't recovered from pre-COVID. Gauteng, Limpopo, and the Free State are lagging behind. The Northwest is moving fast. There's mining. Let us look at the role of agriculture in Limpopo at household level. 38.2% of households on the left-hand side gray were involved in agriculture. Here, what are they engaged in agriculture for? look largely more for a main source of income, little. They in Limpopo, the darker color after the gray, 3.9, its main source of agriculture. So people in Limpopo, households are highly involved in agriculture. Let's use it as an extra source of food. So why are you highly engaged in agriculture? Look at Mpumalanga, it follows. There's an MMC with us here. Look at the Eastern Cape. But look at our share from Mpumalanga for main source. In Mpumalanga and the Eastern Cape, they produce even a lot more higher to eat. So in Limpopo, they produce and they dry out and they go to the shop, yet they're highly engaged in agriculture. Look at the yellow color, which must talk about extra source of income. Look at Limpopo. Look at Mpumalanga and the Eastern Cape. Look at the Western Cape, for example, right at the bottom. The brown color, main source of income. At household level, I'm not talking at commercial level, at household level. What you do at home. Towards the future, I'm about to conclude. Look at penetration of cell phones. Gray color 2011, we're sitting at 32.3% in South Africa. Now we are sitting at 92.1% with phones. What is it that will do? People have televisions, radios are now declining. Landlines have declined at the bottom. They were bigger, 24% at the bottom. Now they are now sitting at 5.8%. What is it that will do? I will skip the rest of this. Come here because the program director wants me to finish. That will do using our numbers when we have our research. For the national development planning, all the way to sustainable development goals on the right hand side, all the way to IDPs, municipalities, we must support our municipalities. I chair the global working group, the United Nations Global Working Group on Big Data. I also co-chair the International Forum on the total official support for sustainable development in the world. The issues we talk about there is the future of ICT and how we'll make it powerful. And when we have data, we need to have integrity, accessibility, timeliness. We need to have accuracy, relevance, interpretability, comparability, methodological soundness, and we must publish our methods. Because we must not only produce poor numbers and research, we must not have questionable statistics and research. We must have acceptable statistics, because when it's quality statistics, the statistician general can put the stamp. Only the statistician general in South Africa can put a stamp that is official statistics. Only when it's quality statistics. If it's not, it will remain at a poor level. And the benefit is that we are independent. I work under Minister Khumbudzo Ntshavheni in the presidency. When I release numbers, I don't go and brief the minister first. Many of us here have a responsibility of briefing our political heads. Tambeleni knows. I release the numbers, and the president and the minister see them the first time you see them for the laws of the Republic of South Africa. So it's a big responsibility they give us. Because when we don't do that, our numbers and our research will not be driven by empirical evidence. It will be driven by political ideology, unethical behavior, anecdotalness, and power influence. Sometimes even from the same political party, people fight about who must go more to the left or to the right. Numbers and research must never be attacked when it's solid. That is why we need empirical evidence. And let us say alone cannot produce all the numbers. We need to work together so that we can qualify our numbers into efficiency. This slide, program director says, those who are in this language will know When I was young, growing up in the village, we used to write letters for our mothers who were writing letters to our fathers in migrant centers. Mother finish a letter with "I love you, my husband," or "I miss you," because we were their scribes. We were not supposed to hear our mothers telling our fathers, "I love you" or "I miss you," because if we had that, we were going to go deaf, according to the village legend. To go blind. If we wrote those words down on behalf of our mothers. So mother and father had to find a standard way to say in the hela kwal. In Shivenda, they would say in Pelela Hanef. In Sipedi, they would say Kifeta Mo. In Situana, they would say Kifeta Onafa. In Sisutu Sabura, they would say Kaditumedi iso. Na watsena. Na watsena ditaba. In Isindebe Oza. In Iswati, they would say Amangente Angnawo. Bongwa. And indeed, in isiXhosa they would say ngicela khona apha ngomkhulu umbuliso. In English and Afrikaans they would say I love you. Ek lief vir you. I miss you because they were empowered, they could read and write. Never and never again, Mandela once said, should we allow any section of our society, be it women, children, who are old, the empowered, disempowered, black or white, be advantaged because they cannot read and write. They can't even express themselves on issues that matter the most to their hearts, like love. When we are there and we call ourselves a research forum, what impact will we make? Because in isiZulu, when they finish the letter, they would say, "Amaningang now." So program director, "Nam, amaning ang now." I feel thank you. The next slide is blank, by the way. Yes, it is blank. Program director. I'm sorry, I never had enough time to prepare for a shorter input in the keynote. I thank you.
Now we know who the real comedian is. The real celebrity. Now we know. Or perhaps we know where some of from. This dancer had his dancing shoes on. And thank you for dancing beautifully, the statistician general. That was indeed a rendition of strings of insights, and you did that in baritone. We've been sitting for quite a long time, but the program says we should start with a panel discussion. And people could be pressed somehow. So I'm just trying to see if I can allow 10 minutes for break and we do panel discussion, or we keep the program this way. But let me see, I don't want to disturb the program because if we go out, sometimes we take longer to come back and we may mess up with the program. 5 minutes, allow 5 minutes. Just pleading that let it be 5 minutes. We should be in 5 minutes. Thank you. Let's take that short break. So we should be back at 25 minutes. Can we bring that table